And now on Who's Views, a Doctor Who fan joins JT for a little chit-chat.
Here we are again then, everybody. Hello, welcome back to Who's Views. This is Chit Chat, and as you can see on this particular episode, I am joined by regular Who's viewer, Shaun. Hello, Shaun.
Hiya. All right.
How are you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah.
Good
We
to
finally
see you.
got here.
Well, yes, welcome to Who's Views. It's nice to see you.
Sorry.
Are you
You're
okay?
going to ask me how I got into Doctor Who.
I am, yes. Can you hear me all right, first of all? Is everything okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, he knows the routine, though, Who Views. Yes, I'm going to ask you, how did you first find the Doctor?
Well, the interesting thing is, I was born into a world where there were no Doctor Who.
All right,
It didn't
okay.
appear for 2 years. So I suppose it was through my dad. My dad were always like, he were big on Quatermass. He used to talk about Quatermass constantly. And I suppose he watched it. So I tended to watch what my dad watched. So I guess that's how I got into it. But my first memory of Doctor Who was from the Dalek Master Plan, episode 10, where the Egyptians are surrounding that Dalek with bricks, rocks to mobilize it. But I never realized that William Arnold was the first Doctor. Even though I obviously remembered it from that time, my next memory is from Power of the Daleks. So obviously I must have been taking note from then, and I realised that I thought Patrick Troughton was the first Doctor, and me and a friend who I've known for 50 odd years argued about that for a long time when we were kids. He just wouldn't have it that Patrick Troughton was the first Doctor, and it turned out he was right.
He was right, yeah.
So, but I remember the scene from Power of the Daleks where they were in the laboratory, and I misremembered this because I thought they were talking to Lesterson, saying, "We want our power." But having seen the sort of remakes and one thing and another, you know, the animations, I realised now that they were discussing it between themselves, saying, "We will get our power." And the other memory I have from that is the colonists, the man and the woman who were holding the baby, and the Dalek were just about to shoot them down when it blew up. You'd call that. They were walking down the corridor, and the Dalek were just about to kill them, and that's when everything kicked off. And I remember that, and that really scared me. Really scared me. But then, when the music came on, I used to get really scared, and it was that feeling in your stomach. And you wanted to watch it, but at the same time, you sort of wanted to run 100 miles. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I had that sort of feeling about it. A feeling you don't get these days.
No, you
I know
don't.
I'm a lot older, like, but even
Oh
so,
no! I mean, it's amazing because I can relate. You know, I'm not. I'm about 10 years younger than you, so I'm not that far
yeah, I
off.
think you are. Yeah,
I relate. The music, especially, I relate to that because it was
yeah,
that feeling of it was a thrill with that
that's
music.
right.
It was exciting, wasn't it? And part of you did want to run away, but that was the healthy thing about being a kid. You were like, no, I'm going to sit through this. I'm going to be, I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
be with the Doctor here. Yeah, no, it's the same.
And almost closing your eyes at certain times when things were going to happen.
behind the sofa syndrome.
Yeah, only I was too lazy to get up and go behind it. I used to close my eyes.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, I heard you talking to Time. I can't remember. Time. You were talking about yourself anyway, and you were talking about your memories as growing up. And the interesting thing were that you were talking about John Pertwee as I would talk about Patrick Troughton, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I figured you were possibly about 10 years ahead, between us.
Mm.
And the thing is, with Pertwee, that's when me and this friend of mine really got into it, really started to understand the plot, really started to see it beyond just being scare of the week kind of thing. Although I still retain a real fondness for Patrick Troughton.
Of course you are. Yeah. So how old were you when Pertwee came along in 1970?
I'd be 9.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
we were just that little bit in advance. And I don't remember season 7, though. I remember more of when Barry Letts took over,
Mm.
from like Terror of the Zygons, sort of that way.
Mm.
But it's funny that because my dad, as I say, always went on about Quatermass. Oh, it was brilliant, and it were brilliant because I've subsequently seen it.
Of course, yeah.
And when I did watch that first one, and I read the script book, there was a police box in the last episode.
Mm.
They made a phone call from it, but of course that episode doesn't exist now, does it? So, it's a shame, really.
Yeah.
But there it is. I always thought about that as the first crinoid invasion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you know what I mean. In my own sort of, because it sort of came to Earth, it ended up as this massive planted type thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what about you?
No,
Do you
no,
know
this
about
isn't. This isn't about me, Shaun. This is all about you.
Okay, fair
It's all
enough.
about you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So,
fine.
how did you, when you were growing up and you were looking at the Pertwee episodes live as they went out back then in the 70s? You and your friends, you would obviously get together and talk about this. What were the major differences that you noticed between that and Troughton as a young lad? And did it all excite you?
Yeah, of course it did. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, the sea devils coming out the sea and stuff like that. The Silurians, I really love that story.
Yeah.
Down in those caves and that. But the point with the Silurians is as well, and this is something that I think that's missing from today's Who. Well, there's a lot missing from today's Who, isn't there? Generally, Doctor Who, but the thing where the build-up of the Silurians, 3 episodes before you saw one. Now that I like, because I tend to write a bit myself, and the thing with me is character. I love building up character, whereas now you get half the story before the pre-credits. So all that character build-up and that tension build-up isn't there.
Yes.
That's how I see it, and I've thought that ever since New Who came back.
Hmm.
But when it did come back, me and my friend, we'd be on phone for an hour after each episode discussing it. And
Really?
that ended with Matt Smith, I think, because I'm not really a big Smith fan. I'm not a Moffat fan at all. I
Okay.
don't think he's a good writer. I don't like the way he just pulls a rabbit out of an hat for a solution. And half of them don't make sense anyway. And basically, he tells you that. I'll tell you to your face, well, it don't make sense because I can't be bothered to think of it. But anyway, we're getting off the issue here, aren't we?
No, you can
And
talk about what you like. Go where you want to, Shaun. Go where you want to. It's absolutely fine.
yeah, well, that's my big beef with Moffat. But I did enjoy The Empty Child. I really enjoyed that.
Mm.
And then we got on to, I don't know, Silence in the Library, did we?
That was series 4 of the reboot. Yeah.
Were it?
Yeah.
And then he started introducing all these things about, oh, the Doctor's a wonderful man, the Doctor's this, the Doctor's that. I've seen armies, I think this was River Song, I've seen armies run from that man. And I'm thinking, what sort of army runs from one man? Even an army of ants had ever go. That's just ridiculous because he's basically centered everything then on the Doctor. And I love the early stuff, the stuff with Hartnell in and what have you, where the Doctor used to like fit into a story with characters rather than just appear and be this godlike figure.
Yeah.
And well, everybody turns to the Doctor. I don't like that. Yeah, he's wise. He's very intelligent, but he's a third-rate Time Lord with first-rate ideas. That's my take on it. He was pretty crap at being a Time Lord. He decided to disappear because he didn't like the way they operated. But his first sort of instinct was to get out there and explore, not to be this sort of savior of everybody, as Davis and Moffat have it. That started with Ian and Barbara, didn't it? When they sort of humanized him in a way. I don't mean humanized, that's a poor term to use. They broadened his horizons to compassion, to empathy, to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it slowly did become a more empathic character. In the You're frowning. You don't like what I'm saying.
No. I'm listening. I'm just looking back because I know what you mean. I mean, the Hartnell character mellowed, shall we say? He got used to the fact there were human beings constantly around him. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I had it put well somewhere else, and basically, the Doctor was pretty internalized in the early days. He was interested in what would benefit him, exploration, stuff like this. He didn't really bother give too much importance to actually righting wrongs or all like that.
Yeah.
If it were going to affect him, he'd walk away, and I like that because I like that dark aspect to his character.
Yeah.
I love the Tribe of Gum, whether you want to refer to it as that as not, but it just sort of separates it from an unearthly child, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But I absolutely love that show, and I know I'm in a minority, but the other thing about me is I love sort of realistic reactions. And if you look at those 3 episodes, the reactions that Barbara, Ian have, Barbara's sort of terrified. She don't know where she is, but she's such a compassionate person that she can't just leave another human being to suffer. Whereas Ian probably would have left him out of his sort of the reality of the situation, but obviously he wanted to take care of Barbara. He didn't want to see her upset, so he stayed behind.
Yeah.
The Doctor was ready for going, which
He was
the realistic thing to do, really.
Yeah, it was absolutely. Yeah. Instead, he kidnapped them.
Well, yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah. And that sets the precedent for 60 years of time and space travel because he did it more than once after that, in a sense, didn't he?
Yeah,
Willingly or not.
He did. But I love that dark aspect to his character.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll never know whether he were going to smash that caveman's head in, but I think we can take a pretty good guess at it.
Yeah.
That sort of thing to get him away, to get him back to the TARDIS, and he were quite right in his own way.
Yeah. But also, Shaun, it shows just how the Doctor has evolved because people forget this day and age. The Doctor is an alien, and he certainly is an alien when we first encounter him back in that first story because he hasn't had that human interaction at all.
No, that's true.
And so of course he would react differently.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. Whereas nowadays, basically, you've just got a human being running about.
Well, in these modern days, it's more about the humanity of the character, isn't it? Which is, you obviously don't agree with that either. Then you're like me. The Doctor is not a human being. He shouldn't be given humanity.
Absolutely, and that's why I also think that the Doctor should never be the subject of a romance because it is sort of alien to his nature. It's not what he's about.
Yeah.
If the companions have a bit of romance, that's fine by me. But the
Especially
Doctor
if they're
should
human.
never be sexualized, I don't think.
No, I agree.
Because it's not the character.
Yeah.
It's not the character, and it shouldn't be done. But if since 2005, and this is why in a way I've kind of written off what I class as Pretend Who.
Okay.
Because of that, it was there right from the start, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Right from the start. The
Yeah.
Doctor's over 1,000 years old.
Mm.
What, why would he be interested in 19-year-old girls in that way?
Mm.
He's more
Why would he
interested
be
in
interested? Why would he be interested in any human being in that way when he's an alien?
Exactly, yeah.
You know,
completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a concern for me when the 2005 series started all those years ago, 20 years ago. This was like, because I started to see, as I was watching this thing over the weeks it was on, I started to see more and more of modern day soap opera elements coming in.
Yeah,
and in my opinion, that's down to the writing and the production team.
Of course it
because
is.
I feel that's I feel in a sense, Shaun, that it's a sense of talking down to an audience. Now, I can understand for the 2005 audience series, right? They didn't know who the audience was going to be. They were very, very nervous about it. They didn't know, but they should have known, and they did know that there was going to be a majority of fans there that were helping to support the series, were coming back to it. So it was a bit weird, wasn't it, seeing all these elements where they've pandered to a modern audience, or what they think a modern audience is, with their idea.
Agree.
It has to have a romance in it. It has to have elements of always returning to modern day. It sort of spoiled things for me. Were you the same?
And what really brassed me off, though, were in the finale with all the Daleks. I were expecting to see some fantastic shots of Daleks, and all we got were Rose sat in a cafe.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to see that.
Yeah.
So you sorry.
You were the same then. You were just a bit, when you saw these elements coming through, what was your gut reaction when you saw that over those 13 weeks, these sort of soap elements coming in?
It wasn't a good one.
Right.
But the thing, what I was saying earlier as well, as it progressed, we got to Moffat taking over, and I was quite pleased at the time. I thought, this could be good. This could be good.
Right.
But to me, Moffat made everything about the Doctor, and that's not what I'm into. I like the Doctor to fit into a story. And it could be useful there. It could be very useful. It may even have the solution. That's great. But let him work with characters, not ciphers. People are there because they're this or they're that, or they're just labelled somehow, and they're only there for 2 minutes because they're gonna go. So they're instantly forgettable.
Yeah.
Whereas if you think back to some of the great characters of proper Who, we won't beat about the bush.
Yeah.
You've got Jago and Lightfoot.
Classic.
And all these people, so many more, and they all fit into the story and they all help the story along.
Yes.
And a lot of the humour comes from that. A lot of this, it's just, that's missing now. More so since, because I think that Moffat internalized it too much. So it was all about the Doctor, and nothing else really mattered. It's all about how brilliant the Doctor is. And I'll so many examples that you can actually give. And I don't know, I can't remember the names, the titles of these programs.
No, I have that problem these days as well, because it's just that a lot of them are totally forgettable, Shaun.
Well, they are, and they just blend into one.
Yes.
I think it was something to do with the Pandorica.
On series 5, I do remember that one. I remember being fairly bored towards the end of that series, though, I have to admit.
Yeah, well, I were definitely, because you had this army there, and they basically said to themselves, we are not fools. We are not fools. Well, you are in a way, mate, because there's the guy you're looking for walking around in front of you, and nobody's thought to actually pick up a gun and shoot it at him.
Yeah.
And then you've got him stood on that thing shouting at all the sort of ships that were in orbit. And he's just stood there,
Yeah.
out in the open, on a platform,
Yeah.
screaming his head off at them. Where one press of a button and he'd been obliterated.
I know what you mean. It's become about the speeches, hasn't it? And this is
Yeah.
what the new series fans seem to love. Some of them do. They seem to love all these very wordy, lengthy, emotive speeches. Where it's the same. I mean, you'll know if you've watched the show. I have this running gag going on that each and every time the Doctor's regenerating, he has to give out this 10-minute,
Yeah.
20-minute speech before it, and I'm just
Yeah.
screaming, "Oh, just die for heaven's sake!" You know,
Well,
just regenerate.
Tennant were the worst for that, weren't he?
Oh,
Tennant were
oh,
the
well, yeah,
worst for
because that
that. I
went on
mean,
for
my
months.
God.
It went on for months in the story, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It must have done.
Yeah.
And I don't like all that aspect of it. I've got to be honest with you. I don't like that aspect of it. What I see on TV now, I don't recognise as Doctor Who. I don't even class it as Doctor Who.
Well, did you? I mean, you obviously came back to look at this like we all did in March 2005. How long did you stay with the show before? I mean, were you there for years and years and years? Are you there? Are you there still with it now, or was there a point where you went, "I've had enough now"?
Pardon me. What spoiled it for me, I was there for the end of Davis' first run,
Okay.
which I thought were getting a bit fantastical then, with a master
Yeah.
flying about here and flying about there.
Okay. Yeah.
But Matt Smith never really had a chance with me because Moffat ruined it for me right then. So you've got this new Doctor and he's walking out of this thing and this thing's reading his mind and all of a sudden it's scared out of its wits and it does a runner.
Yeah. Okay.
If you've got that much power, if you have that much notability, where's the drama? Where's the drama?
Yeah.
All you have to do is show your face and your enemy's on its way. Army or no army. That ruined it for me. It just made him too powerful. They'd already done that with Davis, hadn't they, with the Space Jesus type thing.
Yeah, with the Time Lord Victorious at the on the end there. Yeah. So are you saying that from Smith's first one, the 11th hour, you were sort of disengaging there?
And we're off.
Right.
As soon as I saw that scene of him walking out and that thing reading his mind, this guy's too powerful to tackle.
Right. Did you stop watching it at that point then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And the only episode of Smith I really enjoyed was Vincent and the Doctor.
Oh, see, so you did carry on watching the show then after the 11th hour?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Did you watch it through Smith's tenure into Capaldi?
Capaldi I liked. I wasn't watching it, no. But if I'm honest, I suppose I were. You were like dipping into it. But
what do you mean it was on?
What I tend to do was put it on, and after 10 minutes they do something that peed me off so much, I just switched off.
Right. Okay. Yes. You were dipping in and out of
each that level of
Yeah.
Capaldi I liked, but I didn't like the scripts.
Oh well, yeah. Join
Moffat
the club
again. Overrated. Completely overrated. In fact, to be honest, I see Moffat as being the sort of instigator of the end, really. You know, when he turned people from men to women, which opened the door for the Doctor to become a woman.
Yeah, but that was done deliberately from Series 5 onwards, from the Corsair or whatever it was called. I mean, that was deliberate and due to their ideals, wasn't it, really? The ideologies they were all getting on board with,
And that's why I don't rate Moffat. I just don't rate him. And I watched Sherlock as well.
Did you?
Until the point where he killed Sherlock off, but he couldn't provide a reasonable answer for why he was still alive.
Oh, well, to be fair, though, that's Conan Doyle. Because, you know, to be honest, I watched Sherlock and I don't understand what the fuss was about Moffat and Gatiss' Sherlock. Because if you look at it, they basically took Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's stories and just moved them into the modern day. I just don't understand because I read the majority of the Sherlock Holmes books when I was a boy and loved them.
Yeah, I did.
And so when I sat down and watched this stuff by Moffat and Gatiss, I just thought, well, what exactly is different here apart from the time it's in?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, even though Conan Doyle did provide an answer, didn't he? Really?
A very
You
good
know,
one,
he never,
actually.
because he never jumped off there, did he?
That he didn't know.
Watson thought he had, but it were all in Watson's mind.
Yeah.
He was basically watching Watson, looking with despair down into that cavern,
Yeah.
and then he went away. So he did provide a
Where was
sort
the
of.
modern one again? Was it a rooftop or something? I can't really remember.
I think he jumped off a rooftop, didn't he?
Was it a
But
car park or something? Yeah, I think you're
well,
right. I
I
I
can't.
dismissed it again because I just thought, well, that's not going to work because you just know that they're going to bring him back because they
Yeah,
do
exactly,
Arthur
exactly.
Conan Doyle did. So you just think, well, it would have been far better if they'd gone to the falls, I think, and done
Yeah,
it something there.
no, I agree. But that was just pure lazy writing. He couldn't write himself out of it. You see, if I'm writing on a project, I always start at the end because the ending is the hardest part to realise.
Yeah,
You can throw anything into the first opening scenes, and that's why these guys look so good because they throw everything with a kitchen sink and the bloody and the cooker into it.
yeah.
And so it all looks wonderful, but it's never satisfactorily ended, in my opinion.
No, fair
And
enough. Fair enough.
that's Davis, that's Chibnall, and Moffat.
Hmm.
And you probably won't agree with me on this, but
Oh,
I'm
go
going
on.
to say it. From the three of those showrunners here, I think Chibnall's a better writer. Not for Doctor Who, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but outside of Doctor Who, I think he's the best writer. I've seen a couple of programs by him and I've enjoyed them.
Oh well, there
And
you go.
he did that sort of Manchester United air crash, and Tennant's in that, but it's
Yes,
really,
he is.
really
Yeah.
good. It's really good.
Hmm.
But don't get me wrong, I'm not putting him on any pedestal.
I think they're all as bad as each other.
Yeah, I do. There's nothing to choose between them, really, is there?
Well, this is my ongoing theory. Don't put a fan in charge of Doctor Who because they've just
Yeah,
proved now. Three of them have just proved it's not
yeah, they
necessarily the
have.
best thing to do.
They
You know,
have.
I would rather have a professional who's a good producer and got good ideas, who then employs a good script editor and who then employs good writers. They come
Yeah,
up with the format of what Doctor Who actually is, which is very easy
yeah,
to do
that's true.
if you go look at 63 to 89, and then just say write stories based around this character and his companion in a TARDIS through time and space. But I think the three of this lot have just come in with other agendas. They've come in with bigger
Yeah,
ideas. They've come in with all
I
the
think
stuff that
that's
we
been
were
the
all talking
problem.
about in the 90s.
Yeah, that's been the problem, though, don't you think? They've all come in with agendas.
Oh, totally.
If they hadn't come in with those agendas, they might have been able to make a better stab at it.
We'll never know. I mean, I think
No, we
I do
won't.
believe it's sort of without the kitchen sink soap opera elements and all the lovey-dovey nonsense that they were introduced in 2005. I think there was some really good moments from the original RTD era. I think there was some nice bits there, but not many. My favorite episodes, as many other fans have said, are strangely not the ones written by RTD.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think had they just stuck to what the premise of Doctor Who was,
Yeah, totally
um,
agree.
especially
Yeah,
now,
I
Shaun,
totally
as well.
agree.
If they'd just done that, I think it could have been huge now. Whereas now, of course, it's not, and
No.
in danger of coming off the air again as we speak.
Well, it's likely to happen, isn't it? But the thing is,
Yeah.
and it comes back to the way TV is made these days, but
Mm.
I do like a good story with good characters, solid characters. So if anything happens to them, it matters to you.
You care, yeah,
I don't give a
yeah,
damn about half of these people who get killed off. They're just not important. They haven't
yeah.
been written well enough.
They've been written to actually have a purpose in the script, like the old gag about if anybody was wearing a red jersey in the original Star Trek.
Yeah, yeah,
Not
that's
too
pretty
far
much.
from the truth.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Mm.
But and this is what gets me when fans talk about, oh, there's too much padding in this, there's too much padding in that. Yeah, but padding it also, that's where your character development comes in as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
You know, that's why and you're the same as me, that's why I'd rather watch the War Games in its entirety or the
Wow.
Daleks in its
Yeah.
entirety than what we get there, because all the character development's cut out of it.
Yeah.
Well, you've
Yeah.
got me talking about Naru now, and I want to talk about other things.
You talk about whatever you like. you brought it up.
I probably did.
Well, but listen,
I tend
I
to
mean,
linger
you
on
were
it so
saying
long.
you were saying that you were in you were 9, 10, 11, 12 when you got to Pertwee. How did you react when Tom Baker came along?
Oh, right, let me tell you.
Okay.
I was gutted, because
Oh.
I thought, when they actually did the change,
Yeah.
I thought, I don't want this to happen. And I thought, oh, it's okay. It's John Pertwee with a curly brown wig on. Because the noses on profile are similar. So I was looking at the nose and I thought, it's okay, it's still John Pertwee. And then when I realised it weren't, I didn't watch.
What for? How long? I mean, when Robot were you there for the first episode of Robot in December '74?
No.
Oh, what? What?
No.
How did you,
I was that
see
gutted. I couldn't bear it. But I'll tell you, this leads me on to another topic I want to talk about. And I'm going to ask you a question now, and you have to answer it. Did you go
hang
to
on, before we
Longley?
do that then, hang on then. You weren't there for Baker's first one in December 1974. When exactly did you catch up on Baker's first few episodes?
I can't answer that until I answer this next question.
Go on then.
Next statement.
Go on.
So I need you to answer me.
Okay.
Did you go to Longley? Yeah, 83.
Say that again, sorry.
Did you go to Longley in 83?
No.
Right, okay. Well, we did, obviously, because we were... And I weren't working at that time. And don't worry, I'm coming back to what you were asking me. I'm coming back to it. It's just going to be a bit convoluted.
Okay.
So basically, we hired a van and we headed off down to Longley. The ticket were about £7 odd, from what I remember, which is ridiculously low, but anyway. And we stopped at this service station overnight, and we rang home. The weather were absolutely awful up here, but it was brilliant sunshine where we were.
Mm-hmm.
And we were sleeping in the back of this van. There were me, my ex-wife, and my mate, and one of us gallantly sat in the front so that she could sleep in the back all the time. We were in sleeping bags. And we woke up next morning, there were ice on the inside of the van. It was freezing.
Mm-hmm.
And this van we hired had a problem with its choke. So we got up, we all got prepared to set off, and we couldn't go because the car wouldn't start. Mm-hmm. So we're all like running around panicking, thinking, we're not going to make it. And these three guys were walking towards me. So in desperation, I walked over to them and I said, look, mate, do you know anything about starting cars? I can't start this car. And they were Welsh, there were three Welsh fishermen. One of them said, bloody hell. But anyway, they did help us and they got the car started and we got down there. And then because we had tickets, we must have been sidelines, because you must have heard about the queues and everything. They were just...
Of course, it's legendary. More people turned up than to anything else in the BBC's history.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, we got in there after some shenanigans. We got in there.
Well, that was lucky because lots of people didn't.
Well, I saw these three soldiers coming towards me, and I thought they were, guys who were... I can't think of the name.
Extras, actors, supporting artists.
Yeah, stewards. Yeah. Stewards. I thought they were stewards. They weren't, were they? So I said flippantly to one, "It's a brigadier here," and he looked at me as though he wanted to turn me upside down and give me a damn good thumping.
Mm.
And they walked off, and I thought that was strange. But anyway, the upshot of this is we got into the tent to see Terror of the Autons,
yeah. But
it weren't Terror of the Autons; it was Terror of the Zygons.
Right.
And we were going mad. We wanted to see Terror of the Autons, And Ian Levine came in and said, "Look, all you Americans see these all the time. We don't, So we're showing Terror of the Zygons." What an eye-opener that were. My God,
in what way?
Phenomenal.
Right.
I came out of that tent a confirmed Tom Baker fan. I went
Right.
in there not interested in Tom Baker. And that's when I started going back and watching and that were brilliant in a way because we were that bit older again.
Yeah.
So you could appreciate the stories more.
Right.
But Terror of the Zygons were phenomenal.
So this is 1983. Are you telling me you didn't even watch Peter Davison at the time?
Oh no, I did come back to it. Yeah, I watched Peter Davison. I thought it really took off again with Peter Davison.
Right.
I thought it got a bit silly with the end of Tom Baker, but looking back on it now, I don't think it was that silly at all.
Well, not compared to what we've got in this day and age. No.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not a big fan of McCoy, but I'll watch McCoy any day over. I won't watch this stuff. In fact, I blame you for me watching the Christmas special.
Oh,
So
sorry about that.
But yeah, I know. Apologies, not really enough, but it'll do.
Yeah. I mean that.
But yeah, I wanted to be able to discuss it and I'll probably do the same with this damn next season.
Yeah, well, I mean, we get a lot of that. I get a lot of our Who viewers emailing us, or obviously on the live stream saying that they're not going to watch it, but they look forward to us watching it for them and reviewing it, or they'll watch it because they want to join in with the chat, and that's absolutely fine because it's
the only option really. But sometimes it's
the
nice
pain
to
of
be on
getting through it as well.
page.
We're sharing the pain of getting through it there, Shaun.
Yeah, you are definitely. But I suppose you've got the incentive to do it because I couldn't. I'd probably watch about 10 minutes of it and off it would go. You've got the incentive of being able to talk about it on your show kind of thing.
It's a very small incentive on that.
It is. I'm not.
I'd rather watch Terror of the Zygons any day, Shaun, than anything that's about to come up in 2025. I can tell you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking anything away from you at all.
No.
You're in there watching it, so kudos.
We're reporting on it. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Did you not see any of Tom's time when it was broadcast?
I'm saying I didn't, but I probably did. I don't remember any of the first season, so I definitely didn't see that. No, I'm
Did you miss the Tom and Sarah Jane partnership? The Tom and Liz partnership?
No, because at the time probably, but I did watch Genesis of the Daleks because
Daleks.
But no, I got all that after. Possibly not at the time, but definitely after. And I mean, well, Liz Sladen was brilliant, weren't she? I mean, you had everything I wanted there. Her reactions were natural. That's why I never really took to Ace because I just thought I don't see anything there that's believable. That believability aspect is quite important to me.
Oh yeah.
You had it right from the start, and you had it. They say they're all screamers, but I think I scream at half of the stuff that they went through. It's a natural reaction.
Yeah, totally agree. If you're millions of miles through time and space from home, and your comforts of what you know as home, and you're facing bug-eyed monsters, some of whom could be man-eaten, then you're going to scream, aren't you?
Well, you are. I mean, you may become a little bit, more adjusted to it as you travel. But when you foresee those things, no, it's gonna come out, isn't it?
Yeah.
But funnily enough, just going back to Longleat, basically, it were queues, and it were draining.
Yes.
It were really draining. And we were sat in canteen at the end of the first day, and we were all shattered. I'd driven down from like Burnley area, and we were just sat there. We were absolutely shattered. We were sleeping in van again, and this guy walked in, and this isn't really funny actually, but you had to sort of be there, and he looked like he walked from John O'Groats to get there. He looked shattered, and he took 3 steps in and collapsed.
Oh dear!
Just fell to the floor, and we started laughing. And we started laughing because we were so worked up with what had gone on in the day. Well, like a sort of release. I mean, we'd have helped the guy, you know what I mean? We'd have helped the guy, but others went on. It was just one of them things that you just had to be there, and it just sparked you off. I don't want to sound like I'm callous or like that, because if there had been nobody else there, would have been the first ones there to help him, you know. They thought, this poor guy, wherever this come from, he's made it here, and now he's going to probably end up in hospital. And if he's watching, I do apologise. I do apologise. But the thing were, as we left, we were shattered. We got back to this motorway cafe, motorway services, the same one we stopped at going down. We were all knackered. So we went in, and as I walked in, I could see that the waitress serving on, we're having an argument with this guy. He wanted a Coke. I don't know what was going on, but she slammed the Coke down on the counter. And we got there, and I said, can I have a Coke? So she passed me this Coke. Now, my mate whispers into my ear, how do you know that that's a full measure? So, wheels turning. So I just said to her, because I was tired, how do I know that that's a full measure? She says, you want a full measure? So she got another cup, filled it to the top, put it down in front of me, said, that's a full measure. I said, I'll have this one. But the thing, but my ex-wife was sort of following us up, and she didn't know we were together. So the air turned a bit blue when we left, I think. But as we were leaving that,
What's this got to do with Doctor Who?
I'm coming to it. You said I could talk about anything I wanted. No, but it's coming back to Doctor Who now. As we walked out of that station, yeah, I looked up and I just said, Captain Mike Yates. And it was Richard Franklin walking in. And we had a really good long conversation.
Right.
And then he invited us to go up to, I think it was Richmond or something like that, where he were, you know, where he were living. And we went up there and we had a great time up there. And he took us, he were in a show up there or something like that.
Oh, right,
And
okay.
it was quite an interesting thing. It was a nice little end to the sort of whole Longleat thing, if you will.
Yeah.
You know? And Longleat were a bit like camp school. You hated it. Well, you didn't hate it, but it was so frustrating. You couldn't get in there. You couldn't get in there.
Yeah.
But when you look back on it, it was fantastic. You can't.
Well, it's certainly a one-off because it's never been repeated.
No, it's not.
No, even the 50th anniversary thing wasn't as big.
No, it wasn't.
As Longleat. I mean, people don't understand. I mean, Longleat was a completely different thing. The 80s was certainly a different Britain. You know, so it was practically everybody headed down towards Longleat on that one day.
Absolutely,
it was amazing. You know,
absolutely.
It was on the news, wasn't it? Nobody go, nobody go, nobody go.
It were on the news. Yeah.
Yeah, there's thousands of people queuing up.
I saw Pertwee, I saw Tom Baker, JNT, I saw Pete Davidson. You know, it was brilliant. It was really good and never to be repeated, as you say. I don't think, because to be honest, I wouldn't go to a convention now. I've no interest in it.
No,
absolutely not. No.
Unless
it's centered on proper Who.
Yes. Yeah.
I have been to things like I went to one in Manchester, but it were basically proper Who.
Right.
And they rarely mention New Who at all.
It's
and that was quite good.
To be honest, Shaun, it's sometimes best not to mention the new stuff because it's too politically divided.
I think it's always better not to.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
And the one thing that really got me with that is I wanted to see Paul McGann. But Nicola Bryant come out and she said, this is what we've all been aiming for, isn't it? A female doctor.
Oh.
This is what we were working at back in our day. I was so offended, I got up and walked out. I went for a walk around Manchester to cool down. When I got back, McGann were already on. So I missed off his, what do you call it? I missed off his
panel,
talk, which brassed me off a bit. But what did, Katie Manning were there, and she were absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
She had a bit of a naff interviewer. who kept going off at tangents, and she kept sort of gently bringing him back to the subject, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
She was really, really good. She went way. I mean, I always liked her anyway, but she went way up in my estimation. That
Well,
day.
Katie's a pro, and she knows how to do these things.
Yeah, she does,
I mean,
definitely.
it's part of her bread and butter now, isn't it? And you know,
Yeah, it is.
because they've been doing them for a long time, they should all know how to do it. But Katie's certainly got them in the palm of her hand, as has Fraser to an extent as well, and
Yeah,
also
true.
you know Wendy Padbury. But they're all very, very, you know, they know the routine now. But Katie is certainly very good at making sure that everybody's involved.
Yeah, definitely. Plus, they're approachable and likable people. You know,
Mm.
That helps.
Mm.
Whereas today, I don't know. I mean, if I were in the part of that character and people had come to see me, there's no way I'd charge them for autographs. I mean, I've never been an autograph collector.
Yeah.
I got Tom Baker's when he did his book signing.
Oh yes,
But
all those years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, we also got Tom Baker's when he were in She Stoops to Conquer.
Oh wow,
After
you
he
saw
was
that?
through, my
Yeah.
ex-wife wrote to his agent and asked if we could actually see him after the show because we went to see it. And he wrote a letter back saying, "Oh, that'd be lovely. I'd love to see you," kind of thing. So as we were walking out, you know, the backstage, we were there waiting. We had a great chat with him. We had his photos taken with him. He signed everything we'd taken.
Oh.
No problem. No
Yeah.
question of any money
Yeah.
at all.
No.
And to me, I think that's, well, I think it's exploitation.
Mm.
Where they're sort of, you know, asking all this money for an autograph.
And a
You just
photograph.
sign this. And these meet and greets as well.
Yeah.
What they charge for that? Al Whittaker and
It's a-
Gatwa had the nerve to charge what they charge. It's
No.
beyond me.
Yeah. We were so lucky actually coming from our generations because, you know, I often say this to younger fans that I meet and they are terribly jealous about the fact that I have got books and DVDs and videos and all sorts of things from the old days with autographs and pictures of stuff. And a lot of the stuff are people that, of course, we've lost. They've all passed on now, so they're no longer with us. So,
Yeah,
you know, you look at it, and we were lucky because you didn't pay for a thing. They did it because they were grateful for
exactly, yeah.
for the fandom. They were great. I mean, it all came again from the start of. I don't know if you know it, but it all came in with the start of these Comic Con type events where everybody suddenly realized they could all make money. You know.
Yeah.
And it came through from the Star Wars and the Star Trek route, and it hit into Doctor Who. Yeah.
Yeah.
So but they are astronomical. The prices they ask for today. I mean, you know, I'm not going to be paying all that. I don't care. You know,
neither would I.
These
Neither
people
do
pay
I.
that money. I can't believe people that amount of money to get a photograph or a squiggly. I mean, did you see us when we showed on one of our shows how Shooty, for example, signs his name and he's charging for a Shooty kiss? I mean, it doesn't look as if he can write. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, my take on it, as I say, if I were playing that character, I'd be saying, yeah, of course I'll sign your autograph. Thanks for watching the show. Thanks for supporting us. And it's lovely to see you.
But it's turned into a business
because you don't need it.
It's turned into a business, though, Shaun, that they are making a lot of money through these because they get paid to go to the event.
Yeah,
then the fans pay them for the privilege of an autograph or a photo shoot or a meet and greet.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, they see us coming these days. They really do. That's the modern world for you. Everything is about them making money and taking the money from people that earn nowhere near they do. Yeah, yeah.
Everything's superficial.
It's such a shame. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something as well. In Crick Museum, right, which is in
where? Sorry.
In Crick Museum, it's like a tram museum, but they have an actual police box there.
Oh, is that the one in York?
No, it's the one in. It's not the Lakes. It's the Peak District. It's in the Peak District.
Because I went to one in York years ago, and there was an actual police box in there. But I am aware. Is this the one you're talking about? The one that's outdoors?
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
yeah. Well, they had it donated to them, and it had concrete cancer. And a lot of fans got together and they did it up. And when I went, you know that I make tortoises, don't you?
Yeah.
Because you've shown pictures of them.
Yeah.
Well, I got my measurements from that because it stood
Ah.
out. It was stood out in open, and there
Yeah.
were a mound behind it.
Yeah.
So I climbed that mound, and fortunately it was behind it, so nobody could see what I was doing. And I was measuring every little dimension kind of thing. I could even get to the roof, and I'm not a very
Did you?
tall bloke, but it was a very tall mound. Couldn't do it now because they put it on one of those concrete pedestals,
They
and it
have. Yes.
stood
They've
away
moved it.
from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I liked it
Yeah.
where it were, but so yeah, I got authentic dimensions, and when I
Amazing.
got back, I made two off those dimensions, two police boxes, and I actually saw inside it as well. And the thing, I don't know why, but they'd actually put. There's only one door on a police box. It's the rest of it's concrete. The door is wooden and it opens outwards.
Mm.
Now they had put the door on the wrong way around so that the inset panels were on the inside. So all you had on the outside were the impression of the panels.
Right.
Why, I don't know, but I mean, it's a police box, so I'm not going to complain about it.
No.
The window
Keep the
frames
door
were
shut.
metal. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Metal window frames, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really good. In fact, I think I've been down there twice now. I've been
Have
down
you?
there twice, yeah.
Mm.
And it's still there, but like I say, it used to be painted TARDIS blue. Now it's painted police box blue, if you will. You know, the navy, genuine colour.
Yeah, I read it was supposed to be as near to the authentic original blue in England as they possibly could get, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I wanted to ask you about that because how did you start this fascination for the police boxes, and how old were you when you started to build them?
6.
Wow. Right.
Yeah, but I'll just expand on that a little bit because the first one I ever built with 2 matchbox inners stuck together with the windows drawn on them.
That's
It did
fine.
get a bit. So I'd be about in my mid-20s, I think, when I met.
Right.
And what happened with that is, I had a friend who I met at Longley, and he just paid £250 for a TARDIS about this big,
Oh my goodness.
which back in '80s would have
Yeah,
been
lots of money.
a lot of money.
Mm. Mm.
And I was so jealous. And I
Mm.
thought, I want that. And it
Yeah.
weren't even a specific one, it was a generic police box, you know.
All right.
So it wasn't sort of doctor specific, it was just a generic police box. And then, I don't know if you remember this, some kit came out, I think it were American, and it were a
The
police box.
American one. Yes. Yeah, I
And it
do
were
remember.
cardboard. It were
Yes.
cardboard, weren't it?
Yeah. Well, I never saw one because it didn't look right to me.
It weren't bad, actually.
Was it
It
not?
weren't
I remember
bad.
the adverts on the back of Doctor Who Monthly back in the day,
Right.
and I'd asked if I could have one, and you know, my folks were like, "Oh, it's a bit of money, it's a bit of money." But
Yeah,
then the more
yeah.
I looked at it from the picture that they had of it, I thought, "Oh, it doesn't look like the one I was used to at the time, which would have been the
Right.
the, the, the
No,
Ardley
no,
one."
yeah. Well, I got that, and I looked at it. I took all the parts out, and I thought, I could do this,
Yeah. Okay.
and I could do it on a bigger scale. I could do it on
Yeah.
any scale I wanted. And the first one, which is a bit of a fairly family heirloom now, which is
Ah,
rubbish, but I still have it because I have a fondness for it.
yeah.
It's up in loft somewhere. But I made about 30 odd all told.
Hmm.
They were pretty crude to start with, but as it progressed, it got a bit better. This one here, that's the John Pertwee figure,
Yes. Yeah.
and that's
Lovely.
the TARDIS I made for him.
And what's it made out of?
Well, these bits here are solid wood.
Right.
The doors are balsa wood. The windows,
Oh.
excuse me, the windows are like plastic. Remember the old driving licenses where you used
Yes.
to have like pebble dash covers on them?
The cover, the wallet thing. Yes, I do.
Yeah, I collected a load
Mine
of
was
them.
still
They
in one
used
for
to be
years.
three sections.
Yeah.
these sections here.
Right.
And then, of course, everything used to be like black and white, but with with computers coming in, I could then colour things like that blue panel there, for instance.
Right.
You know, yeah, and that's basically how that happened. And that's probably why I got divorced, I think, because the house were always upside down with tortoises in different, states of repair. But that photograph that you like, the one on Pendle Hill with a mist behind it, do you remember it?
Yes.
That one's 3 foot tall.
Right.
And
Amazing.
that one is so heavy that I can't lift it now. I've got too old.
Really?
Back in those pictures were taken in the 90s, and I could actually throw it about then. But now it's too heavy because those kitchen tops, those really thick kitchen tops,
The
formica
countertop.
type thing on top of it, but they're really thick wood.
Right.
The base of that and the roof of that is on that original one.
Right.
Obviously covered over, but it's so heavy that I couldn't lift it now on my own.
No.
So that lives in bedroom now.
Right. So how many have you got? How many do you have there?
I made about 30 odd.
My goodness.
34, I think I made.
Good grief.
And some of them I gave away as presents.
Yes.
And some of them, obviously, I kept.
Yeah.
But I noticed when they brought the character options range out, that their tortoises were too small. They weren't the right scale. It should be 13 scale, really. But they'd done that deliberately because they were a big thing about plastic at the time, weren't they? So they used less plastic by making it smaller.
Oh, I see. So,
So if you put your figures up against them, they don't. The figures are slightly too tall. So I made a full range of 13 scale ones for each, one for each figure kind of thing.
Very good.
Because, I mean, the TARDIS were always smaller, as you know, than a police box anyway.
Oh, yes.
Because
Yeah.
they took that step off, didn't they, to make it shorter so that it fit into the lift. But the TARDIS stood at about 9 feet tall, minus its light. Whereas a police box was 10 feet tall, minus its light.
Well, I want to ask you about that. Now you've mentioned that. I mean, what do you use to make the light on your police boxes?
Well, it's a good question, that, because these days I could 3D print an actual, what is it like, couldn't I? But I don't have a 3D printer. So basically, the Troughton and the Pertwee ones were the easiest because all they had were like this cylindrical white thing.
Yeah.
So you could get anything and paint it white. Some of the other ones are like on that one that I sent to you is it's just like bottom of a Terps bottle, but it's got that ridge style thing on.
Yeah.
And for the other bigger ones, they were easy because I made a Troughton one, a Pertwee one, and an 80s one. The 80s one were the hardest thing to do, but with the others, I just used the cylindrical lights, because I was pretty light on tools and material kind of thing. I just had to do a mend, if you will. And in fact, I did actually find some cardboard. So it weren't cardboard. It were like foam with between two plastic sheets, and I used that to build my Troughton one. And I can still throw that one around because it's light.
Lighter. Okay.
So I use that foam for the doors, and the supports weren't as thick on that one as they are on an actual police box. So I could get away by losing a bit of weight that way as well. Yeah. But yeah, there's one or two of my TARDISes knocking about
I'm
up
sure.
and down the country kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you've made 30 odd, there's bound to be, isn't there? Really.
Well,
I mean, what's your favorite? What's your favorite variant of the police boxes we've had over the decades? Then.
It's the Pertwee one, I think. The
Right.
Pertwee one with a roof on that slightly overhangs at one point. It's slightly too big, so it you know. And I'll tell you why that is, I know, because I used to read Countdown. And although they didn't particularly do a really good drawing of the TARDIS,
No.
what they did do was put that imagery there. I've got loads of photographs of these things on beaches. And I just love that. And it's from when the TARDIS lands in the desert in the comic strip. And there was just one scene in it that stuck with me all my life. I love that scene. And it's just a TARDIS in a desert. So I like photographing these things on beaches. And
To recreate that.
it goes back to that, really.
Yeah. It's amazing how these images, when we're kids, stay with us for all our lives, isn't it? Really,
it is. Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic. So were you reading all the TV comics and the Countdown stuff as well then at the time for Doctor Who?
Yeah. In fact, I wish they did. What is it? Didn't they? They did classic comics.
Yeah, they did. Doctor Who Monthly spin-off, didn't they? The Doctor Who Monthly classic
and
comic
that's the
series,
only way we've got them. But I've always wanted them in a big hardback book.
It's bound to happen, Shaun. I mean, they're reprinting a lot of the original prints, of course, the comic strips again. You know, we've had the Fourth Doctor anthology, we've had the Dalek things, we've had the Cybermen anthology. They're bound to do something if they can get the rights issues, if they've still got all that cleared. They're bound to do them, and they would be lovely as hardback novels, wouldn't they? Hardback books, rather. Yeah.
So you could actually, without worrying about damaging it, but actually read the thing and enjoy. I like to keep things pristine, you see, and that's a foible that comes from my friend, who I'm sure is OCD or what have you. But because I always remember, I moved down Wales, but we kept in contact.
Yeah.
So he'd come down and visit me, and I'd go and visit him at Christmas and stuff like that. And we kept in contact, and we've known each other for 57 years now. So I'm glad that we did. But I remember going down there with a copy of the Three Doctors, and when I finished reading it, he says, "You've broke the spine."
Yes.
Like I'm some sort of murderer or something like that. Well, I took that on board, and I don't so much these days, but stuff like, I do like to keep things tidy so they don't get dog-eared and stuff like that.
I'm with your friend. Never break the spine of a book. I just can't stand it when people do that. Oh.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm still on that page.
So listen, we're coming to the end of our chit chat here. Where are you then? I mean, you mentioned it earlier on. Are you going to be looking at the next series when it comes out in 2025? You're not going to bother now.
I'm going to be watching Who's Views instead.
Good answer.
It's the only answer.
Yeah. Are you collecting the original series Blu-rays?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. So have you got? Do you get the limited edition? Sorry.
I said there's some good stuff on there.
Do you get the limited editions or the standard editions?
The limited ones.
Oh, lovely. Okay, so your season 7's on the way as we record this.
It is,
probably
I can't wait for it.
Yeah, you're probably going to get 21. Will you buy the Davison one if 21 is the next one?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Colin Baker, and I'm not a big fan of Sylvester McCoy, but I've still bought because it is still part of Proper Who, isn't it?
Oh, totally. Yeah, it's the same character throughout. Yeah. They're still playing the Doctor. It's still our Doctor from 63 to 89. It's the same character. I'm not so sure personally, as you'll know. It's not the same character today because they rewrote the character completely. So,
Absolutely, yeah. Totally agree. And I've got the only thing I bought from the new series was the first box TARDIS set.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
With Eccleston and Billy Piper on.
Yeah.
I bought that, but I've never bought anything else from...
Yeah,
I just can't see it in the same way.
That's fair enough.
Is that age, or is that...
No, I don't. I just think well, obviously, I'm going to agree with you because it is a totally different show. I just wish they'd had the gumption back in 2003 when they announced they were bringing it back to say, right, okay, either A, we're going to do this properly and consistently, and then hire people that were going to just produce Doctor Who, or they rebooted it and have it Doctor One Day One.
Yeah.
so you can actually cut the series off, because where we are now, everything it just went all pear-shaped, didn't it, halfway through its run, really?
Well, we're nowhere. I mean, I love it when people agree with me, so that's why I like asking loaded questions. But the thing is, if I can just say just a couple more things, the thing that disappointed me when the series came back in 2005 with the TARDIS, they had a perfect opportunity to build a proper police box, like in the Peter Cushing one space. It didn't happen. So when Moffat came in, that were another thing that soured me against him as well. He may have painted it up right, but he didn't make a proper TARDIS, did he?
No, they just used the same plan. Yeah.
Say again.
They just used the same plan. It's the same
Yeah,
dimensions.
they did. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it still had, the windows were too wide. It didn't have the big step at the bottom, which I'll say something for Chibnall. He did restore that step. The biggest step on on the front of the TARDIS, the sort of sections. The first one should be quite large, but that's all he did. He actually restored that, but like I say, that's all he did, really. So I'm not going to get too excited about it.
No. Well, it's going to be an interesting year, 2025, Shaun, as we look at our beloved show and how they've altered it and what they're doing to it. And it will be interesting. There's going to be lots for us all to talk about this year. I've no doubt
there is. That's true.
Because I think as we're recording this in February 2025, I think the writing's on the wall. I think we all know what's going to happen next, where it's going, don't we?
I think it needs to, though, don't you? It
Totally.
needs to, because you can't we're scraping the bottom of the barrel now. There's nowhere else to go.
No.
We're going to be down to Australia before it ends.
Through digging.
Yeah.
No. But yeah. Well, there we go.
It's such a shame.
It is.
Because it could have been done right, couldn't it? It could have been done right.
It started so well, and they just got the wrong people. As far as I'm concerned, they just got the wrong people in charge.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the BBC relied too much on only fans can produce this show, which I don't believe.
True.
I don't believe.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, my friend, thank you so much for coming.
It's been a real pleasure.
Spending the last hour with me. I really appreciate that. Do keep in touch and let me know. And obviously, you're in the chats as well with us. So
you will do. You definitely will do.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that it actually came through, because I had all sorts of problems trying to get on, as you know. So thanks for your patience, by the way.
Oh, it's not a problem. It's great to talk to you, and we'll have to catch up again some point. If you're interested out there, Who viewers, in coming on to Chit Chat and spending a little bit of time chatting to me about Doctor Who and anything else that you want to do, then you can get in touch with me via that address down there. It's whosviews1@gmail.com, because that's what this one did. whosviews1@gmail.com. Thank you very much. And look forward to seeing you on that. Shaun, again, great to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. Great to talk to you. Really,
it's been just as enjoyable as I hoped it would be.
Oh, well, good. We'll have to get together again at some point. I'll have to do Chit Chat revisits coming up soon, everybody, as I go back to everybody. But no, great to see you. Great. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching Shaun and myself having a good chat here. Please don't forget to like the video and also subscribe to the channel. If you've already subscribed to the channel, please make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. That'd be great. And leave some comments for Shaun down below or on the side, wherever it is, for him, so he can see all your messages. From Shaun and myself, thank you for watching. Until next time, take care of yourselves. We'll see you again soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye, JT.